Shalom, friends. Shalom, Tafreem. Welcome to the show this evening. Anyone's come here for the first time, very warm welcome. Those who have been here for a long time, I welcome all of you all also. Today we are in a very amazing Shiur. Last time we done Parashat Shoftim, and today we're going to do Parashat Ki Teitze. Ki Teitze, because now it's going on to so much of practicality and so much of understanding of human behavior. And I think in this parsha, we also realize how intuitive Moshe Rabbeinu is because he understands humanism and he understands the human psychology so very well. Therefore, whatever he's saying and he's giving to the Jewish people and to the children of Israel is so apt to their culture, their behavior, their stiff neckedness, and all that they're doing, right? So, if you all have your Torah with you, please open to chapter 21 of the book of Devarim. We will study from there. Devarim, Pasha Ki Teitze, Perek Chaf Aleph, and we're going to do Pasuk 10 onwards. Yud, Pasuk Yud, verse 10. Okay, so I named today's shiur as Sense and Sensibilities simply because when I was studying the shiur myself, I understood something very basic, something very foundational in this entire shiur. Because the shiur goes from chapter 21, verse 10 to chapter 25, verse 15. And in this entire portion, we are reading about so much of what you would call, from a Jewish point of view, halakha. Now, what is halakha? Halakha comes from the word lach or lach, walk. So in common parlance terms, in our terms, it's how we walk with the Lord. What is our daily walk with Him? What is our relationship with Him? What is our covenanted relationship with Him is most important. I perceive that all of us at some point of time have realized that our relationship with Him is very open. It's not bound by a covenant attitude that we must begin to follow. So we say, or we believe that yes, I belong to God and God belongs to me and I have a relationship with God, but I do not want any boundaries. I do not want any kind of impositions. I don't want any rules and regulations. I will do the things of my heart, but yet I have a relationship with God. Now, that can stem from a place that I really don't know God. So I don't know His likes and His dislikes, what He recommends, what He wants me to do, what is His will for my life. But I have the commandments all in the Bible, so I will try and follow the commandments. It doesn't work like that, my friends. So there is an aspect of a daily halakha, of daily walking, as to that's relative to my understanding of how I need to conduct my life, and that's sense and sensibilities. Do I have the daily sense and sensibility to conduct my life according to His halakha? Am I constantly being completely engrossed in self-awareness as to how I'm conducting my life on a daily, minute by minute basis? That is what this is all about. Now, when you read this portion, you don't need the Torah to tell you these things, or you do not need the scriptures or the Bible to tell you these things. To be kind to one another, right? We will go through one point and one section of all this, and you will realize, one second, I don't need the Bible to tell me this. I've got this already embedded and charted out into my heart, into my soul. But the scripture is telling me, is reminding me of this right now. Okay, so now that catapults me to a different level now. What exactly is halakha? What exactly are commandments? If I'm looking at it in the spectrum of, okay, these are commandments. Oh, I have to follow these commandments. If I don't, I'm going to get punished. But if I do, I'm going to get all the merits for it. You can't approach all this in that manner. This has to be ingrained into you. Have to realize that this is already ingrained into your soul. The software is already written of your soul. The Torah is just reminding you of this. Okay, so let's start from that point. Now, the second thing I want to tell you, even when we are studying this portion, is that all this is very intuitive and it can sound very common sense for all of us, but please note that this is also within context of covenant, within context of breath. Okay, so turn with me and we're going to read from verse 10 onwards. And it says, okay, let's open verse 1. Now, typically when we are reading it in the English, in the KJV or the NIV, I don't know what all Bibles you guys use, what all scriptures you use, but please use the KJV. It's very, very important. It says, because I'm reading it directly from the Hebrew translation, so it will sound a lot different. It says, when you will go out to war against your enemies, your God will deliver them into your hand, and you will capture its people as captives. Now, it seems like God is charging them, saying that you've been given the mandate to go to war. So when you go out to war, okay, and you are fighting with your enemies, I'm going to be with you. And when you take captives, okay, it's going to tell us what you're going to do with the captives. Now, if I'm looking at it from this angle, okay, because I have to change the voice of that sentence to actually understand what's happening out here. Okay, I have to change the voice. So it seems like God is charging them, saying, first of all, go to war, go and take captives. But that's not what the Torah is saying. This is where sense and sensibilities come in. And this is what I just caught my eye, because the Moshe and the Torah, or what God is telling them, it's dealing with the human functionality of how we are living a life. So God knows that when they enter into the land, and Moses knows that when they enter into the land, they are going to be resisted by the people of the land. So although you may come in and say, okay, I'm occupying this land, but are you not going to be resisted? You are going to be resisted, right? It's like saying, okay, I am ditching this world right now and I'm turning towards God, and I'm going to fast and I'm going to pray and I'm going to rectify my life. I'm going to get, closer to God. I want my relationships to be better. You think you're not going to get resistance? You're going to get a lot of resistance, friends. So we have to build that resistance. And this is where Torah is saying, when you hit that resistance, you have to use a lot of sense and sensibilities, how you're dealing with all of this. Just know that I am with you, God says. But use sensibilities. Okay, let's get down to understanding sense and sensibilities in all these pursuits. Ki tetse le milchama, to war, al aivecha, on your enemies, venathanu Adonai el Elohecha beyadecha, vishavita shavu. And the Lord your God delivers your captives into your hand. You will capture its people as captives. Okay. And then immediately after this, it says something are really out of the context. And I want you to catch this very, very clearly because this is where the Torah is absolutely amazing. Okay, see what it says. And within its captives that you round up and you put, in a place and say, okay, these are the captives and the spoils of war. It says, and you will see among its captivity a woman who's beautiful of form. Now, one second. We are talking about war. Okay, we are talking about taking captives and spoils of war, and there's death around you, and there's bloodshed around you, and there's pain and there's suffering. Your eyes and your mind and your mentality is dealing with goriness around you. But the Torah is saying, and you see a beautiful woman, a beautiful form. Ve'riata beshaviyi eshet yafat to'ar. Yafat, beautiful, to'ar of form, of structure. The silhouette, the word to'ar actually means form or silhouette. It means that the the form of the body is so beautiful because the same word that's used for Yosef, beautiful. It's the same word that's used so many times for people who have who have beautiful looking bodies, right? Toar. Toar is a very important word. And you see this among the captives, this woman, and she catches your eye immediately. Long flowing hair, raven, black, thick hair, beautiful eyes, beautiful form, expressive, and you're like, wow, captivated. Bang in the middle of war and all the spoils of war. And this caught my eye. I was like, Lord, why are we talking about something of a beautiful woman in the middle? Are you trying to distract my mind, take my mind away from everything? But you see how brilliant the Torah is. Listen, then it says, and you will desire her. You will be captivated by her. You've taken captives, but you have become the captive itself. And you're captivated by her. And you will desire her. That you will take her for yourself as a wife. She's definitely not Jewish or from one of the children of Israel. She's definitely from the Goyim or from the nations around. But you see, and your heart gets captivated, and you desire and say, okay, this is what I want. Absolutely amazing. And this is where I think Torah is very, very beautiful because the Torah understands the physiological needs of the human soul and the human body. If now what I'm trying to explain to you all right now, many of your guys or men will get, maybe your women will understand because this is basically like a man thing. Okay. Whenever a man is pushed into a corner and he's in a high adrenaline situation, it's pumping, the blood, the adrenaline is pumping, and he's super excited. It's just as good and as equivalent as sexual energy. Listen to what I'm saying. It's just as equal to sexual energy. So, the reason this is the reason why guys hit the gym, and you have all these fantastic huge muscles and this and that, and they're pumping, and they're attracting all the unnecessary attention. It's all that masculinity that's flowing out, right? All the things that's flowing out. That gives a very high level. Now, when you're in war, when a man is in war, he's away from his home, his family, he's away from all these situations of good life, of peace, of calmness, of food, hunger. All this puts a strain on the body. And then you're faced with the prospect of death. You're standing in array with your arms and with your armor and your sword in your hand and your shield, and you're shouting, and you're 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 listing yourself up to charge and to slaughter. So that moments and those hours of insanity, because the person is just cutting down and slaughtering. He's not looking at the blood, he's not looking at people, he's just slaughtering. And then when everything's done and over, the body's pumping with all this thing. And that's the time you're the most irrational. Because all sense flies out of the window. All sensibilities do not exist. But your body is trying to cope with that adrenaline rush. And then when you take the cab and see this wonderful girl out there, beautiful, bam, the Torah tells you sense and sensibilities come down to earth immediately. Torah says, listen, you are going to do this. You, oh man, you are going to do this because you cannot control that animal instinct inside of you. You are pumped. You are vicious and pumped. If it's possible, you would probably even pounce on the woman at that point of time in a sexual act because you're not using sense and sensibility at that point of time. And Torah is addressing this, and it says, listen, it says, and you see this woman who's beautiful of form, and you desire and you want to take her as a wife. At that point of time, you have married her, had children with her, everything's already happened in your mind in 1 minute. That's it. Then it says, listen, then it says, oh, وإذ يتا بالشبية الشت يافت توار והחשת בא ולקחה לך לאישה ואהבת את תוק אל תוק ביתך וגילך את ראשי ועשית את Zafrania. Okay. And you shall bring her into the midst of your house, betok, in the midst of your house, and you shall shave her head and you shall clip her nails, okay, that she will be completely humble before you, and she shall remove the garment of her captivity from upon herself, and she shall sit in your house, and she shall weep for her father and for her mother and for her brothers and sisters and her friends and her husband and her boyfriend, whoever she has lost in war, for a full month. And thereafter, you may come to her and live with her, and she will be a wife to you. How long does that last? That insensibly, that period of madness, they say, of war. How long does it last? Very interesting. You see, I'm trying to give you the fine prints how the Torah is attaching to the most finer points of the human physiology. And the Torah understands all these things and is telling you, I'm warning you about all these things. But the Torah says you are going to go to war because you're in the land, whether you like it or not, was going to come upon you. So be ready. Next, in the madness of war, you are going to do insensible things. Amazing. Then it says after that, listen, it says after that, והיה אם לא קפצת בה ושלחית לנפשי ומחבור לו וכסף לו. It says, and if it shall be, if you have not desired her after some time, then you shall send her on your own, but you may not sell her for money. Wow. This is really crazy, isn't it? Really crazy. You shall not put her to work because you have afflicted her and you have humbled her. What? Now just stop for 1 second and just ask yourself, how can they even how can the Torah even talk on this? Selling people, buying people, selling people. First, I want you to understand the Torah is dealing with the cultural bias of its day. Please make a note of this. It's dealing with the cultural bias of this day. And it's dealing with the best situation that is, is prevalent at that era of time. So it's telling you, treat her with that kindness. She has lost everything. She's lost family, mother, father, everything. You have humbled her, you've cut her hair, you've removed all her cultural clothes, all that she knows is reality for her life. You've paid her nails. That's a different topic. I don't want to get into it. And the hair and the nails. And then you in your madness, you wanted to be a husband and take off your possessions because you had power over, just because you think you had power over everything. And now suddenly you just don't desire. You say, okay, I mean, I don't want her anymore. Torah saying, no, you can't treat her like cattle. Don't do as the nations are doing. Don't follow that. Because you done all this in your madness and you're going to do worse things, Torah saying, don't do it. Oh, but we we must understand the frailty of man. Because man is not used to sitting and thinking, what am I doing? Why am I acting like this? Why should I even first of all go to war? Why should I feud with somebody? Why do I have to put myself in a situation that I'm all pumped up so my sensibilities go for a complete toss? And then I'll end up doing presumptuous sins. David HaMelech keeps saying the Psalms, Lord, save me from all the presumptuous sins that I'm not thinking about, I'm just doing because I'm behaving like an animal. This is what I'm trying to explain, that there's so much of sense and sense. Torah is literally telling us, it's screaming out to us in this portion, saying, come on, it is sense and sensibility. Get come back to your senses. And if you don't desire her, don't do as the nations are doing. Don't you go about selling her. You can't sell her. And don't put her into hard work and start hating her and rejecting her. I mean, come on. What are you doing? Verse 15. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ah. Ki tehayu laish shtai nashim ve'achat ahuva ve'ahachat shani ve'yaldu li banim ve'ahuva ve'hashanua ve'hayahaven habarek lishnua. If a man has two wives, one who he loves and one who he hates, is it talking about the one on top, what we just went through? Possible. Or he loves to have, you know, this alternate reality that I go to this tent because she's a wonderful cook. But you know what? I went to the tent today and she's grumbling. She's eating my head. Okay, shut the tent. I have option number two. Let's go there. Oh, maybe she's a better person. She's more empathic. She's more kind. She's a horrible cook. Okay, but I manage with the food is okay. But at least she can hear me out. I can just be at calm in a place and go there. Then after 3, 4 days, There's problem in that tent, come back to this tent. And then the man has to decide, do I love this one or do I love that one? I had a friend once who had two wives. And I kept telling him, you are the most luckiest person in the world. He said, no, you're right, Mark. I am lucky because this is what I do. When 3 days a week, when it gets too much this side, I go to the other side. So how do you manage this? Yeah, but this is how it is. Crazy guy, Mashuga, absolutely Mashuga. How can you live a life like this? He was not a Christian, he was someone I knew. And you have two wives, one beloved and one hated. You can't love two. Can a man love two? Can a man love three and four? No. You have to make a choice. So, okay, this is what I prefer in life. And they bear him sons, and the beloved one and the hated one. And the firstborn son will be born to the one who he says, this is not my first option. This is not my first option. But that one gives the first son, the firstborn. And the one who's beloved also gives, but it's the second option. Man, the man is torn. He's in this dilemma. First of all, if he had sense, he would not have married twice. He should have married kept only one. Why is he marrying twice? Then it shall be that on that day that he causes his sons to inherit whatever his will be, he cannot give the right of the firstborn to the son of the beloved one ahead of the one who's the of the hated one, the firstborn. Torah is very clear. You may not like that the one you not too fond of, but that's the firstborn son. You will give him his right of the firstborn son. Very, very important. But we look at the situation of Sarai and Hagar. Hagar gives the firstborn son to Abraham, that's Ishmael, and Abraham goes before God and he pleads. He says, Father, oh, but may Ishmael live before your face. God says, I will bless him. I'll make him great nations. 12 things will come out of him, and I will bless him. And the Torah says that God is with Ishmael even till today. He is. But he's not going to be the son of the promise. Now, if we try to compare these two situations, very different. Ishmael still got his birthright from a human perspective. God said, I bless him. God has blessed him. But God was trying to do something else as a role for Sarai and for Yitzchak. So you cannot compare these two things. Because I think this is the first thing that comes to people's mind. Wasn't Ishmael the elder one? No. Two different things altogether. Here it's clarity between firstborn and secondborn. That's it. There's no roles between first son and second son. Can't compare the two. But why does the Torah insist that you cannot neglect the firstborn? Whether he's a mamzer, whether he's born out of wedlock, whether he's born, you know, uh, out of a situation that's unwanted, whatever. Why does the Torah say you will not neglect, you will give him his right? This is the kindness of God that you and me have to understand. Because God knows and understands that if you deprive any human being of anything of his heart that he desires, that can cause sin and then cause grief and grievance. And that in turn will change that person to sin against everyone else in life. Kindness comes in many, many ways, in ways you will not even begin to imagine. It will turn your full world upside down. The kindness of God will turn the world fully upside down. Because if there's even a little rejection, that soul is marred for life. Marred for life. So Torah is very particular. Torah is saying, you will give him his birthright and you will treat him as your firstborn. Give it to him. You're my birthright. Take everything. Whatever you want to do for your second and third and fourth sons, you will do. No problem. But at least give him the importance of being your firstborn, because that will cause sin and iniquity in his soul. It will destroy him. You see how the Torah looks at individually. We cannot afford to destroy people's souls. Can't. And know when you have to offer kindness. And I'm telling you again, listen to me very carefully. Kindness comes in so many ways, and it will turn your world upside down. It can turn your world upside down. Be ready for it. And if you're going through these phases of understanding God's kindness, you will be amazed and you will be shocked. You'll really be shocked. But you can turn around and say, this is sense. I don't need the Torah to tell me that, you know, I have an elder son and I have a younger son. If I'm wicked, I will reject. But should I be wicked? Should I not be a good father and give my elder son his share? After all, it's my eldest son. I have to love him. And which father does not love his eldest child? Tell me which father does not love his eldest child? Eldest child. So that is, it's sense. It's ingrained. The laws of God are ingrained into our hearts already. The Torah is only telling us and reminding us of it. But don't sin by going against the grain of your nature. Torah saying you go against the grain of your nature, you're going to sin. You cannot give the right of the firstborn to the son of the beloved one ahead of the son of the hated one. The firstborn, rather, he must recognize the firstborn, the son of the hated one, to give him double in all that is found with him. For he is the initial vigor. To him is the right of the firstborn. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay, let's keep looking at many, many examples. Verse 18. Umore ubehol imu waisarut hove lo. If a man will have a wayward son, a Ben Sorer, a son who does not listen to any Musar, any instructions, a rebellious son, everything that he's doing is rebellious. Now how are you looking at the progression? You do something funny in war, you bring somebody in to be your second wife and third wife, or maybe your first wife, and then you can have the option of throwing her off or producing a child from her, a son. And then not only you reject him, but you reject the son. And by doing that, your other wife has children. And those children are looking at you and saying, what kind of father is this? And he chooses to be rebellious. Or he chooses to look around him and say, this is not life. This is not what I want. I can't be religious. I can't keep practicing and asking for God in my life all the time. I want to go to this world. I want to live my life. Right? He's rebellious for whatever reason. He's rebellious, and he says, "No, And then he mixes with bad company. He's a drunkard. It says out here, he's a glutton and he's a drunkard and he's wayward. He has no musar. He has no rules, regulations about his life. He's just wayward. If a man will have a wayward and rebellious son, a Ben Sorer, who does not listen to the voice of his father and to the voice of his mother, but they discipline him and he does not listen to them at all, then his father and his mother shall grasp him. It says they will take hold of him, they will literally tie him and take him out to the elders of his city and to the gate of his place. They shall say to the elders of the city, this son of ours is wayward and rebellious. He does not listen to our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of the city shall pelt him with stones, and he shall die. And you shall destroy the evil from your midst. And all of Israel shall hear, and they shall fear. You notice it does not say that all the people shall pelt him with stones and destroy the wrong this person is doing in the midst. The Torah does not deal with right and wrong. The Torah is dealing with good and evil. And they will destroy the evil from their midst. It's unbelievable. Why? Because this rebellious son is acted in evil. He may be the circumstance, he may be living life as a product of his environment or whatever he's witnessing. But he chooses to be evil and rebellious and chooses to refrain his approach from God. Therefore, he becomes evil. And evil cannot remain in the camp of God. An evil person cannot remain in a house that's trying to be holy. An utterly wicked person cannot stand in a place where there is light. Now we will ask and say, okay, but how can you justify yourself by and indicting and putting out a person on purely good and evil spiritual grounds? The justice of this world does not function that way. You cannot indict somebody for being good or evil. You can indict him for what he's done right or wrong, not for being good or evil. I can be the most good person in my life. Say, oh, useless, he's so good, nothing gets done with this person. Leave him. Or I can be the most wicked person in my life. But if I don't do anything wrong, you cannot indict me. The court cannot indict you for being good or evil, but the court can indict you for doing right or doing wrong. But the Torah is saying that all Israel shall hear and they shall fear, and they will destroy the evil from your midst, not the wrong from your midst. Listen to this. Because in progression, this person is a product of his environment, product of one senseless situation that you have made, a decision you have made before. It's a probability, and the Torah is telling you, think, use common sense at the same time as to how you're conducting your life. Do not come to this place that you have to deliver your own seed. So all of Israel will hear and they shall fear. Verse 22. Vehi yehye beish chata umishpat mavet. Vehu mat v'kalita uthoel etz. And if a man will have committed a sin whose judgment is death, and he shall be put to death, and you shall hang him on a wooden beam. The Torah is not saying that this is how he will die and this is how you shall hang him. The Torah is saying you put him to death and you hang him as a display because this is how you all normally do it. Don't hang him on a wooden beam. His body shall not remain for the night on the wooden beam. Rather, you shall surely bury him on the day. For a hanging person is an insult to God, and you shall not make impure your land, which the Lord your God gives you as an inheritance. This has all got uh, tremendous halakhic implications about all this, because a dead body contracts tuma immediately. It's called tumamet, and that is the highest level of impurity. It's called the father of all impurities, tumamet. So he dies. If you think he's made a display of it, you will bring him down immediately. You will honor that body and you'll put it into the grave. That's it. Respectfully. Don't go making a mockery of that body, because God is saying in many ways, think, aren't you and me made in the image of God? Are we not supposed to keep this this physicality that God has given us also vessels of purity and holiness? Yes, that person was not a vessel of purity and holiness, but that does not mean you have the right to desecrate it, to denigrate it. You bring it down and you will honor the creation of that body and you give it respect. All this is when a person just sits and thinks, how do I conduct my life? Am I being insolent? Am I being insensitive? Am I doing things because, just because I just want to do things without thinking, not concerned about anybody else? No, unbelievable. And then it's got so many halakha in this. You cannot get an ox and a donkey to plow your field. Chapter 22, verse 6. Ki yikra khan sipor lefnecha bederech becholetz o al haaretz afrohim o betzaim v'hayam rovatz al ha afrohim. Oh, if along the road you see a bird's nest before you on the road or on any tree or on the ground, young birds with eggs, and the mother is roosting, it's roosting on it, on the young birds or on the eggs, you shall not take the mother on the young. You shall surely send away the mother and take the young for yourself, so that it will be good for you and you will prolong your life and days on this earth. What is me messing around with a nest got to do with prolonging my days on this earth? How bizarre is this? Torah is bizarre sometimes, absolutely bizarre. It says, you see a nest on the road or perched on a tree or somewhere on the ground, okay, whatever bird it is, and it says, you will not capture the mother and the chicks and the eggs and all that put together and do whatever you want. You say, chase the mother away. Or let the mother go, and then you can pick up the chicks and take it for yourself if you want it. But what has that got to do with me having long life on this earth? Mm. And you can sit and bang your head from here to eternity, and you'll never get an answer of this, because you can have many connotations of this. First of all, a bird hovering and roosting over its young ones reminds you of what? Yeshua says, where he quotes the Old Testament, he says, O Jerusalem, how I longed to gather in a chicks as a hen who gathers in her young ones. Because this is telling you about something now. Now listen to this very carefully. The allegories and the examples the Torah gives is really fabulous, because it's saying if you are on your way in life, either on the road or somewhere on the ground or somewhere, you know, perched on a tree or whatever situation you are in, you're on your way and you see this beautiful thing before you, and you see this young, this beautiful fledgling life in front of you that has the Shekinah glory, that has the anointing of God, that has the mother hen or the mother bird or the mother on it. You will wait for the mother to go. Then you will take that as your own. And you will be kind to it. You will show kindness to the mother. So some of the sages have asked, does this mean that if we have to give a korbanot in the Beth HaMikdash, this was a debate in the Mishnah and in the Talmud, because in Kulin, 78b verse 8, see what it says. I'm going to quote a little of Mishnah there. With regard to the statement of the Mishnah that sacrificial birds are not included in the mitzvah of sending away the mother bird from the nest, because you're buying a bird, right? So if you're, one of the sacrificial korbanot has got to do with the turtle doves, right? And then you got to buy the turtle doves, or you got to rear it in your house or in your barn. That's what they probably done in those days. That the sacrificial birds are not included in the mitzvah of sending away the mother from the nest. You just pick up a bird and you bring it. So the Gemara, the Midrash on the Mishnah says, what are the circumstances of these sacrificial birds discussed in the Mishnah? If we say that the Mishnah is referring to a case where one had a nest in his house and consecrated it, is one obligated to send away even a non-sacred bird in such a case? The verse states, if a bird's nest happens before you on the way, Deuteronomy 2:26, which excludes a nest readily available in one's home. So it's not talking about taking, of saying, oh, I've seen a bird, let's take a small child, this fledgling, and rear it, so when it grows big, I can take it and offer it in a temple. It's saying something else. Now, I'll tell you what exactly the Torah is saying. Is that when you're on the derek, on the road, or you're in your field, or you're with a tree that represents fruit, whatever you're doing in life, your halakha, you will practice kindness, because it has to remind you that when you're looking at the small fledglings, you will know, one, that every Jewish brother and sister has the divine presence with them. Or you're looking at a family that has the divine presence, or whatever thing, that every human being also has the favor of God in his life. Therefore, you will show kindness to that. Kindness, not love, because you don't know them. You can show love to somebody who you know, but somebody you don't know, you will show kindness. It says you will practice kindness. Because if you take the mother and slaughter it, and you take the children and do whatever you, do you know at that point of time when you look at something? Now, I want you all to look very deeply in your souls, in your minds, in your souls. And I want to ask you all to ask yourselves a question. How many times in life have I seen something beautiful? Have I seen a beautiful cake? Okay, for I've gone for a friend's birthday party and I've seen this beautiful cake, right? But a wicked thought came inside of me and said, "Hmm, what if I can just destroy this cake right now? What fun it'll be, right?" Or I've gone into the garden and I've seen all these beautiful flowers and I've gone saying, okay, let's pluck out all the flowers, destroy the garden without thinking. Do such human beings exist? They do. Or you've gone to a house where the lady of the house has got this beautiful garden that she spends 8 hours of the day tending a garden, pruning the trees, raising the vegetables and the fruits and this, and you insensitively just plod into the garden for the first time and say, "Hey, what is this, man? Just pick it up, just eat something, break a rose, and do whatever you want." And she comes and says, "What are you doing? Insensitive." Or you see this nestor there and you take a stick and you go like, shh, 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 play around with it, disturbing the nest, disturbing the small fledglings. Are you being sensitive or insensitive? This is telling us, no, listen, if you value life and if you understand life and if you value life and you protect life, you will be given long life. It's amazing because you cannot do this with the lion's den. You can't do this with in a tiger's hideout. You can't do this to a pack of jackals or a wolf or a herd of buffaloes or a herd of cattle. But when you see a nest with the most delicate of things out there and you decide to be cruel to life, God hates it the most. Hates it the most. And that shows the person that you are. So you see, I started today by saying sometimes we look at the Torah with all these bizarre, really bizarre commandments and directives, and we don't know what the Torah is saying. But I think in this portion, it is so amazing. It's talking to us about just stop 1 second. Use your mind. Think about your actions. Think about your words. What are you doing? Is life only about you? That everything around you, oh, get angry with this person. He doesn't. Yeah. Stop making it about you all the time. The world is much bigger to know and to understand out there and protect life. Do you understand what it means to protect life? Protect people. Don't destroy them. Don't destroy souls, causing them to sin. That's all we've done here right now. But in many ways, I don't need the Bible and scripture to tell me this. I don't. See how it keeps going. Let's go a little ahead. Let's see how it keeps going. Huh. Ki tivna bait khadash ve asita mi makhadse lenegef velo tasim. if you build a new house, you shall make a fence for your roof, so that you will not place blood in your house if one who fails falls from it and dies. The Torah is saying that when you build a house, build it so intelligently that no one gets hurt and dies. Don't just put up a wall and put a ceiling out there, and after 3 days, the full ceiling crashes in and someone dies. Or someone standing on the terrace and enjoying the night sky, and he doesn't realize he's over the edge and goes, top, falls down, and dies. Torah is protecting life, is protecting people, is saying, just stop and think in every portion of your life how you're conducting it. But you know what? We want to make this about it is the law, and we are not under the law. We have nothing to do with the law. Oof, unbelievable. This portion has verse after verse that talks about so much sense. And it talks about a man who finds a young girl in the field and he rapes her and he has to marry her and he has to marry her. And that girl has to be his wife for the rest of his life. That's it. That's it. Oof. Anyway, a lot of this is now got to do with Tuma and Tahara. I don't want to get into Tuma and Tahara because it talks about other things out here. It even says, listen, it even says, okay, listen, it may sound very funny, but it even says this. It says, when a camp goes out against your enemies, so you're sending a platoon to war, right? And you shall guard against anything evil. That means you're going to war, you will keep yourself pure while going to war. If there will be among you a man who will not be pure because of a nocturnal emission, an occurrence that he spilled seed for whatever reason, because in the night he got up and he felt like going with a woman or whatever he wanted to do with himself or whatever, this thing, or he had a bad dream and there's a nocturnal emission or whatever, he shall go outside the camp, he shall not enter into the midst of the camp. When it will be towards the evening, he should immerse himself in water, and when the sun sets, he may enter in the midst of the camp. You shall have a place outside the camp, and you shall go out there outside. You shall have a shovel in addition to your weaponry. That means, besides a sword and this thing, you shall have a shovel also with you. And it will be that when you sit outside, you shall dig it. Okay, uh, you shall dig with it, and you shall go back and cover your excrement. Now, obviously, we're not going to defecate where we're living, right? Nowadays, we have modern houses, we have toilets that flush and all this, a different thing altogether. But this was, if imagine in those days, you say, okay, I have a house with a huge toilet. Today's people's toilets are like amazing. You can sit and have a cup of coffee and read a newspaper inside. But it says you will designate a place outside the camp for your excrement. You will dig it with your shovel, you will cover it, and you leave it outside. Why? For the Lord your God walks in the midst of your camp to rescue you and to deliver you and your enemies before you. So your camp shall be holy, and he will not see among you a shameful thing and turn away from behind you. God's presence is constantly among us, friends, constantly among us. And we have to be very, very pure in our actions, thoughts, words, deeds for his presence to remain amongst us. This is what he prescribed 3,500 years ago in Bamidbar, and it applies even till today. That the presence of God, His Shekinah glory, His divine inspiration, His Ruach HaKodesh, His Holy Spirit is amongst us only if all of us have practiced a certain level of tahara. If there's even a little tuma, finish. It's gone because He's too holy a God. But we have to apply ourselves. We have to understand the humanism of what we live in. Torah is so practical now. Today, you all must have realized that the Torah just appeals to your senses and says, "Oh, boy, man, woman, think before you say, think before you do, think before you intend. Use sensibilities and sense in everything that you're accomplishing and doing in life, friends." Okay, we can go to the rest of the portion. It's too much to go through, friends. We don't have so much of time. But anyway, uh, I hope you'll are blessed. I hope you'll understand the kindness of God, because the kindness of God is there for us. But we have to mix it with our own understanding and stop operating within the level of this is right and this is wrong, and what you've done is wrong, what you've done is right. The Torah does not operate in that level. The Torah operates in absolutes. This is good, this is evil. Let's root out evil from our lives in ways by saying, Lord, you deal with it. Lord, your Holy Spirit, cast it out of our lives, Lord. Cast it out. Let us turn and become pure and bring ourselves to a pure community so His presence rests among all of us. Have a wonderful evening. Shabbat Shalom, friends, and have a wonderful week going ahead till we meet next week. God bless. Okay, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning for Shachari prayers.